Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Astral Tourist, where we explore the astral dimensions, consciousness, and the unexplainable. I had a very strange and layered astral projection this morning, and I want to go ahead and walk you through it. It wasn't just an energy journey, it was kind of an emotional tour through what I believe was a collective memory zone tied to America's historical trauma, specifically in Maryland around the 1830s. So if you're only here for the super positive episodes, now would be a time to click away. And if the rest of you are fascinated, stay tuned. Okay, so I will go ahead and continue. There were also higher beings, golden energy, a surprise beach hub, and someone grabbed my leg to hitch an astral ride. So let's fly. I don't normally ask for help before projecting, but this morning I decided to go ahead and make a request. I reached out to my angels and guides, asking them to assist me with going out of body. I was achy and tired, and I'm still kind of recovering from this whole move. And I just really wanted to pop out for a little bit, for however long, and I decided to ask for some help. The next thing I knew, I wasn't alone in my bed. Now, normally I have things girded up to the point that if I even get a guide's help, I meet them outside. But, with the move and everything, I guess I haven't set that up yet in my bedroom. I don't know. So there was this being laying in bed beside me, shaped like my late husband. But I knew it wasn't him, and it wasn't trying to pretend. It kind of already had telepathed to me instantaneously about, how I already know how things work, and it had these large golden glowing eyes, which totally gave him away too. I did not recognize the energy as any of my regular guides, but it wasn't malicious either, just helpful. And it was already telepathing, like I said, as soon as it arrived, that, I know how things work, so he thought it'd be okay to pop in. And I was just, the energy surprised me too, because his energy was at this much higher level than even my normal. And remember, I'm laying there kind of depleted from this move and everything, and the energy's just kind of hitting me. And he said, "I have a surprise for you." And it did feel like a gift. The whole room shifted. The space around me seemed to stretch out longer than usual. The bedroom became longer than usual, this new bedroom of mine, with glowing white walls and a floor-to-ceiling window where the regular window is. So the window got stretched out. And, outside it looked like a sunny mid-afternoon, even though I knew it was raining here in the physical. And it was raining this morning. It really was. So all the tension and pain left my body, and I suddenly felt so floaty, energized, just really clear, kind of zingy. And that golden energy he had was pulsing through me. And then he just disappeared. Like, he was just there and gone after the burst. So I think the surprise was just that really quick healing burst. Like, whoom, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Only just with a healing burst, nothing funny going on there. So it felt definitely like an activation, just, an energy burst rather than a bubble too. So I took that as a sign, I was going to take advantage of that energy and zip out that window. So I shut out the window, flying over the mountains as usual. Things were a little blurry after I exited the room, actually. So I started trying to ascend higher and higher, and I kept doing the command, clarity now, and sometimes some branches would come into view, and it was like flickering vision there for a little while. Touch and go. So, I project pretty often, but this time it was different because of that golden energy coming through me, making me feel kind of extra bouncy and floaty. and everything was just like smoother. And I like I said, bouncy, but also more electric kind of at the same time. So I was surprised it was taking time for the vision to kick in with all that energy going on. But it did. I flew for what felt like a while over what looked like some mountains, but I thought these don't look like the usual mountains. I usually fly up north if I'm just flying around. But the mountains, they looked different to me, and I was trying to like figure out where are these, but at the same time I was doing clarity now a lot. So anyway, eventually I felt my energy drop a little bit, so I decided to land. I saw this dirt path below me, so I dropped down slowly, and, softly landed on that dirt path in a forest. The field was quiet, old, earthy. I knew I was definitely like still in the northeast. There was a scruffy man I saw on the path in some kind of a war uniform on a horse. So I tried to drift closer really slowly to show I wasn't a threat. And telepathically I was reaching out. But every time I even took a couple steps near, and like this horse was, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet away from me. But if anytime I came even like a little bit closer, even at that distance, the horse would get a little bit jumpy on him and pull away and like almost look like it wanted to rear up, but he would control it. So I sent loving and calm energy, but it didn't help. I tried 3 or 4 times, just really gently, but that horse did not want me coming close. And I think he was trying to telepath to me a little bit, but I couldn't hear him from that distance. A lot of times just being closer helps me understand telepathically better. But, I think he saw me, but I'm not sure if he could tell what I was. And I didn't do a 360 to see what I looked like. So I've had that happen before in certain astral layers where like spirits are stuck in old memory patterns, or sometimes it's more of like a place memory or an echo that's happening. And I wasn't sure which I was in at that point. Like, was I interacting with a passed on spirit or a place memory bubble, like a time bubble thing, or a loop? And that happens when intense historical events get imprinted in the astral field. So I just wasn't sure quite by then what I was in or encountering there. But anyway, so a little bit further down the road, I saw a young girl hiding in the bushes, maybe 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. So I tried to ask her what was ahead further out down the path, just using telepathy, but I couldn't make out her response. It was like she was trying to telepath to me, but from behind glass. Like she was trying to tell me about the glass, but there wasn't any glass that I could see. And it felt like thick plastic, kind of. She was giving me all these visuals, so I was able to telepath with her a little bit. But she's trying to tell me that it's really hard because of that. And that's when I started to think, okay, this is like an imprint. And maybe there are a couple of people here from the past still here, and maybe that's why the place has the imprint, because these couple of stray spirits are kind of holding it in that zone. I was just trying to communicate with her still, but I wasn't going any closer because I had the feeling like I shouldn't because of this glass she's telling me about, even though I couldn't see it. And then I noticed a small caravan of wagons, kind of with my 360 vision, actually. They came into view over along the path from behind where I had already traveled along. And it looked like almost something from the Oregon Trail era, but I had a strong feeling, that I wasn't that far west at all. I knew I was still in the northeast somewhere. And as they came into view, an elderly woman, maybe in her 80s or 90s, asked me, "Why are you bothering the child?" So she already knows that this girl is there, hiding in the bushes. It's no mystery to her. So I reassured her that I was very peaceful and just looking for some directions. And so and she was like, okay with that. And then I asked her, do you know where we are? Like which state, And she said she didn't remember. And it's not uncommon for spirits to be a little bit confused. So now I'm thinking this is definitely a mixed area, a time bubble, plus some spirits hanging out here, keeping that loop going. So I asked her what she did remember. And she said the fishing had been poorly for the last 5 years due to the poor working conditions of the slaves. That's word for word what she told me. The fishing had been poorly for the last 5 years due to the poor working conditions of the slaves. I was just floored, And so I asked her what year it was, and she said 32. And I'm thinking 1832? And she just repeated it, but it sounded kind of muffled, like she'd already shared as much as she could telepathically, and it still kind of came out 32. And I knew I was in a pocket for sure by then. And, with a couple of spirits lingering, it makes those last even longer when they happen. So I'm thinking by that time, a zone energetically linked to the Chesapeake Bay area, probably specifically Maryland. So why Maryland makes sense. Well, I looked that up after I woke up, of course, just to confirm my original feelings I had already been having during the experience. Okay, so I did look this up to make sure. And the mention of fishing and slave labor is a real historical match for Maryland in the early 1800s. In places like Baltimore, Annapolis, and surrounding coastal towns, enslaved labor was used in fishing, oyster harvesting, and maritime work. So sad. Oh my gosh. So it wasn't the deep South, and that matched the feeling I had as far as locale. I didn't feel like I had gotten that far from home. I live on the East Coast, and it makes sense. I could have drifted into the astral echo, of the past of coastal Maryland. So sad, but yeah. And, the astral doesn't observe time the same way we do. And these loops can happen. And if there's a couple spirits lingering around with that kind of energy, waiting for whatever they're waiting for to move on, it just kind of keeps it going. And I was especially sensitive and open, especially asking for help from a guide and getting the help. So you don't always go up. Sometimes you go through. It's really interesting how the astral can work that way. And I think my energy field was just more expanded than usual too, because I had such a great vibrational lift from him. So he wasn't guiding the whole process or anything. He'd left. But my energy field was just kind of way more expansive even than my normal. And so I somehow picked up on that loop. Eventually I got off the ground again, but I wasn't able to fly for very long. So I ended up coming back down in a worn out campsite deep in the woods. Really rustic, still very old looking. So I'm thinking maybe still in the loop, but maybe not. So this felt more like Appalachia, rocky, earthy, and familiar in an ancient kind of a way. Now, all along the East Coast, there are places like this. In the astral, of course, you could hit any number of these pockets. Things were starting to get blurry again, so that's why I was coming back down to the ground level. And I remembered to use some grounding techniques, so here are tips for you. I have playlists full of tips, but if I try to include some in every episode anyway. So I rubbed my hands in the dirt and then rubbed my hands together, my dirty hands together. Just trying to get more grounded. Interacting with the environment is the tip. And then for fun, I jumped, made a roll in the air, but I made sure to keep my focus on the ground while I did it, even though I was in the air. And I can't let myself land hard on my feet into the ground. And that did it. I became very anchored. And it also really energized me, like the ground bounced energy back to me. So then I was able to fly again just from doing that, just from getting my hands dirty and, doing a little bit of gymnastics there. And the ground echoed my energy back to me, or maybe gave me some of its. I'm not sure 100%, but it worked. Eventually, I reached a beach at twilight. The stars and constellations were visible. So time had been passing as I was traveling along this whole journey here. And it was now twilight. And some were really familiar, like Orion's belt, but others were totally foreign, like there were these 5 or 6 stars in a straight line. And I was trying to figure that out. And there were dozens of people just relaxing, dressed in clothing from different time periods, some from like the Civil War, and others looked like from the 80s, others from maybe nowadays. It was, mixed, maybe 300 people, just guessing. But a lot of the costumes were from the past. Well, the clothes, whatever you want to call them. I mean, they're not costumes to them, right? It didn't feel like a single timeline, but a shared timeline, which is also pretty common. I'm used to that. So this is an astral hub. These are like liminal places where people gather in between the dimensions, I guess you could say. And places by the water are really common. Like if you want to find one, fly along the shore and eventually you'll hit one. So, a kind of astral hub where souls and energies from different timelines and lifetimes can gather. So I'm thinking I was still in the Chesapeake Bay area, but I'm not 100% sure. It could have just been like a symbolic hub built from many different coastal timelines. So, I don't know, but I was happy to get there, and I was happy to see those constellations because, my next kind of on my to-do list is Jupiter. I made it to Saturn if you want to go listen to that one. But I'm thinking I want a close-up tour of Jupiter next. And so I was looking up to space, and I was like, whoa, I'm going to see if I can get there, even if it wakes me up. So I was able to get like 20 or 30 feet up in the air, but I was having trouble ascending higher. And so I asked up in the sky, just in case there were any like powerful beings nearby. I thought, maybe I'll try my luck again and see if anyone's listening up there and wants to help me out. So a being I couldn't fully make out did appear in the sky very briefly, just a glimmer, like a little black flash, actually. I don't know if it was part of a ship, maybe, or the being itself. And it telepathed pretty strongly into my brain that it would try to sync with my vibration, like it was going to be an effort for it, but it would try. So this felt really big. I was like, wow, I'm getting some good luck tonight with guides and helpful beings. And, I was doing all I could to rise a little bit more to make it easier, to raise my vibration up for that being. And somebody jumped up and grabbed my leg. And, I was already struggling a bit. And I've had this happen before. And sometimes spirits just want to try to catch a ride with you as you ascend up into the sky. It's pretty common at some of these astral hubs. There's one in the Colorado area. Oh my gosh, almost always someone tries to grab me there. So just these little astral hitchhikers. I mean, they're not demonic or anything. They're just trying to catch a ride and go flying because they want to have some fun too. But for some reason, they don't seem to have any moral qualms about grabbing you. So, they just want to piggyback. So I was able to push them off. But the effort of doing that woke me up. I was so sad when I woke up because I knew I was almost about to get another lift from whatever being was up in the sky there, only I'd asked permission. I wasn't hitchhiking. But because of my little hitchhiker there, I used the last of my energy to shove him off. And that woke me up. So some takeaways. This definitely was not some kind of a past life recall for me. None of that felt familiar that way. The scene seemed like collective memory pockets, enhanced by actual spirits actually visiting them, perhaps on purpose, perhaps just because they're still in recovery themselves. The collective part, especially with the comment that was so specific about the slavery, and she was able to give me a time period too, that lady. So, and the way people responded or didn't matched the way I've seen some of these other loops play out in the astral. The horse wouldn't come near me, probably just because my energy didn't match the frequency of that particular area very well. I had that expanded higher vibe going on, which maybe caused me to be able to encounter it, but I wasn't vibrating within it just so. And so, it made it difficult to communicate. So thanks to the Golden-Eyed Being guide, I was able to have the experience at all and share it with you. So I want to make sure to give him a thumbs up and thank you. And hopefully I can encounter that one again. And the leg grabber, well, just another hitchhiker hoping for a ride. Thanks so much for tuning into the Astral Tourist. I'm sorry it wasn't a super happy one today. I'm happy I got the boost and I was able to astral project. But yeah, sometimes you encounter these kinds of timelines and memory pockets and astral echoes and things, and it's just a part of exploring. If I encounter them again, I am going to try to help them somehow. But I just didn't have the energy to this time, and the communication wasn't effective because of how I got that energy boost. So I'm going to be sending them energy anyway, like some Reiki and stuff. And if I encounter them again, I'll try to interact more and lower my vibration rather than trying to raise it. Maybe give them some help. So sometimes, you go across time through these bubbles and pockets, emotions, memories, and beyond. If you've had anything similar, like collective memory downloads, hitchhikers grabbing you like I get, strange historical landscapes, drop me a message. I'd love to hear about it. Please subscribe, and share the show if you enjoyed today's journey, or if it helped you in some way with my little tips there. Until next time, happy astral travels.